You have a doom scrolling addiction. Along with me and over 4 billion internet connected young adults, we spend on average 6.5 hours a day aimlessly watching low value content on social media. But the big question is, how will reading books cure your brain rot? Welcome to the Anti-Brain Rot Reading Challenge created by Jaylenepryorreads to prevent brain rot and slow down the doom scrolling. I will expose the 3 core elements to get you off of your phone and immersed in books. And best of all is that I will be participating in this year-long reading and critical media challenge so that I can become disgustingly well-read. Jaylenepryorreads created this challenge, which is loosely inspired by 75 Booked, because she feels like the book community is losing the plot of reading. Ironically, she believes reading is a form of art and literature is meant to provoke thought and be meaningfully engaged with, and I totally agree. So I'll be using this challenge to shift my perspective on reading. It's not just about reading just to hit a number count, but it's about setting goals towards reading diversely, reading from different perspectives, and reading in different formats. And this is why the Anti-Brain Rot Reading Challenge has resonated with me so much. So let's maneuver into the first core element of this challenge, building consistency. Rule number 1 is where you read for one 45-minute session a day where you annotate what you read. This rule is meant to slow down your pacing just a little bit while you're reading so you can deeply engage with what you're reading and write out your thoughts as you do so. For this, you can read in any format that you want. It can be a book, it can be an essay, etc. But you will want to write down your thoughts in a journal, on a piece of paper. In a physical book, you can literally underline sentences, or in an e-reader, you can use a highlight feature. I'm extremely excited to start annotating, but all I have to do is get myself a new reading journal. Rule number 2 is to read one article or essay per month that interests you. This can be on any topic at all that is meant to engage you in different types of nonfiction media. I've already found an article myself actually when I was jotting down notes for this video and came across a couple facts that I needed for the video. The article that I found was called Demystifying the New Dilemma of Brain Rot in the Digital Era. And as I was briefly scrolling through the article, I found a lot of interesting facts and dilemmas that has to do with the younger generation, the millennials, the Gen Alphas, whatever the new terms are for these younger kids. But it is definitely a dilemma with the brain rot, so I am excited to read that article this month. Rule number 3 is to read at least one book by a BIPOC author for every book that you read by a white author. To me, this is pretty self-explanatory because it is so obvious and evident that it's easier to find books by white authors when you're going to the bookstore, indie bookstore, or even major bookstores like Barnes & Noble or Target, versus trying to find books by BIPOC authors. You definitely have a harder time trying to find these books because they're not as easily accessible. Plus, this rule will help you read more diversely because you will be picking up books by BIPOC authors. If you don't know what BIPOC means, it just means Black, Indigenous, people of color. So do with that information what you will. We're now shifting into the second core of elements for this challenge, and it is mindful consumption. And keep in mind that you can fulfill multiple requirements with these same books for the next 3 rules. All right, rule number 4 is to read at least one book from the 10 following genres. And by expanding your genres, you'll be able to read more diversely and with more variety. I can already tick off the fantasy category because this is my first book of 2026, Immortal Dark. Funny enough, I DNF'd this book at the same time last year because at the time that I started this book, I was not in the mood to read a vampiric mystery book, if you will, YA. So I put it down. It wasn't supposed to be a DNF. It was supposed to be a not right now, but I ended up not picking it up throughout the entire year. So I went to an indie bookstore last weekend and I saw this on the shelf and it was just calling my name. So I picked it up, brought it home with me, and I am halfway through it now and I'm loving it so far, and I'm mad at myself for not picking it up sooner last year. I'm also excited to start reading classics and historical books. Don't ask me what kind of classics or historical books I'm gonna read yet. I don't know. I'll definitely have to do more research on that, but I'm definitely excited to start those. Rule number 5 is to read at least one book from the following formats. I've had this book on my shelf for about 6 months now. This author actually sent me her book in the mail for me to read and review, and I did a post on it a while back on my TikTok. But truth be told, I have not completely finished this, but it's a type of book that you have to sit with and resonate. It's like poems or short essays from people that have experienced life, from healing, the journey of life, loving others, and loving thyself, So I'm excited to read these short essays and poems, and I cannot wait to annotate this. Also, I want to read a play this year. I want to read Hamlet. Why I want to read it, I don't know, because I do know it's a very good classic, and I do know it's a very good play. I haven't read any plays since high school. The last play I read was probably Romeo and Juliet in like AP Lit or something in high school. So it's been a very long time since I've read a play, so that'll be on my list this year. Moving along to rule number 6 is to read at least one book from the following 9 criteria. I really like this rule because you are meant to be intentional with reading books from these authors and their specific identities. But the one category that did stand out to me in this rule is reading books by Black authors that are alive. And that is because we tend to gravitate towards the authors who have passed on, like Octavia E. Butler, James Baldwin. And don't get me wrong, they are amazing authors, but we tend to overshadow the authors that are alive and well nowadays, and they definitely need our love and attention too. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I give some pretty good book recommendations on my YouTube and my TikTok, so make sure you're following both. Before I get into the last core elements of this challenge, make sure you're subscribed so you get notified every time I post a new video. And the final core element of this challenge is critical engagement. And this element is meant for you to take further steps in engaging with the aforementioned formats in deeper ways. Rule number 7 is to create your own critical media journal. And that can be as far as writing down reviews or notes on books that you read, or each article or essay that you read. And please use your own critical thinking skills in order to formulate your own thoughts and opinions before you go out and seek others' opinions. I am particularly excited to write in a journal because I've always been someone who's needed to write down things, pen on paper, get my thoughts from my brain out on a piece of paper so that I know what I'm thinking and I know what I'm trying to portray. And best of all, when I finish this year-long challenge, I can go back in my journal and reflect on everything that I've written down in my own thoughts. Rule number 8 is to create a personal curriculum for the year, or semesterly, which will be quarterly for the year. And this can be about anything that you want to learn, a new skill, or even a new language. Try to push yourself to read at least 2 books for the curriculum and make one of them a nonfiction book. And use your local library for research. I'm going to push myself to learn Spanish again this year. At this same time last year, I put myself to the test to try to learn Spanish because I am half Puerto Rican. So I want to know what it's like to speak Spanish and speak in my native tongue. But of course, like 3 months in, I ultimately quit, and I wish I didn't, because who knows, at this same time right now, I could be a fluent Spanish speaker, but I am not, so I'm gonna try again. And the very last rule for this challenge is rule number 9. Focus on community by doing a buddy read or even joining a book club. Jenny does have her own book club called Boundless Book Club. If you go to her page and click in her bio, it'll give you all the steps that you need to find her book club. And I'm personally a part of 4 book clubs right now. I'm a part of a thriller book club, another one called Plot Bunnies, love you guys, and 2 other ones on Fable. So I definitely have my hands full with reading in book clubs this year, but I definitely will join Jenny's book club. And that is because she has coincided this reading challenge with the book recommendations that she has set for the entire year for her book club. So what better way to knock 2 birds out with 1 stone than to join her book club and get a lot of these criteria out of the way. Let me know all of your thoughts about the anti-brain rot reading challenge, and if you are participating in this challenge, please let me know what you're most excited for. And also tag Jenny in all of your content pertaining to this particular challenge. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.